Hello everyone. Hello Daniel. Good afternoon. Allow me to introduce myself first. My name is Mas Ramarina Taya Derarna, or you can call me Reina. And then who can take you actually. Hello Daniel. And I'm as the representative of AMSA Jember 2023-2024 and part of AMSA Indonesia. I would like to express my deepest gratitude for your willingness to be our speaker today on the event of Medical Education Associate Talk Mid 2024 with the topic of navigating the medical journey, balancing life and learning. Maybe I would like to give a little explanations about our program today. So, Medical Education Exclusive Talk or MIT is a AMSA Jember annual event in furthering knowledge through a talk show like program with medical students guests from other AMSA chapter. And today's Zoom meeting are exclusive for the AMSA member only. And we are going to share today's sessions through YouTube later on if it's okay, please. And before we start the main sessions, I would like to introduce my executive board of Asian Medical Students Exchange Program. Saka, you may introduce yourself.
Okay, check. Okay, hello, Mr. Daniel Tran, or should I call Daniel? Welcome to AMSA Jember. On behalf of the AMSA Jember Executive Board, it is my great pleasure to extend a warm and heartfelt welcome to you. We are truly honored to have you join us today representing AMSA Australia. Your presence here signifies the strong and growing bond between our chapters, and we are excited to engage
Recording in
in meaningful
progress.
exchanges and collaborative endeavors that will undoubtedly enrich our experience and broaden our perspective. We look forward to sharing insight, fostering new friendships, and working together to achieve our common goals within the AMSA community. Once again, welcome to AMSA Chamber, and we hope you have a memorable and meaningful time with us. Warm regard, I am Isasaka as the executive board of AMSA Chamber. And next, I will hand it over to the project officer and the moderator, Princessa.
Okay, thank you so much, Kak Saka, for the opportunity. Hello, Daniel. My name is Princessa. You can call me Chessa. I am the project officer and also the moderator for today's event. I'm very thankful for you that you want to come and be our guest here for today's meet. So, I think we can just start. So before we start, as Karina has mentioned before, Meet is a medical education exclusive talk that is just like basically an online-based talk show where we have a moderator and a guest, which is you and me, and we will be discussing about many things that related to us as a medical student. And for this year, the theme is navigating the medical journey. So it is balancing life and learning as a medical student. So this talk show is going to be pre-recorded and it will be uploaded online in our YouTube channel in the beginning of June after some editing. So, it could be more appealing for the audience to see. So before, we continue to the main agenda, do you still have any question regarding meat or we could continue?
No, no questions from me at the moment. Just, yeah, thanks everyone for the warm welcome so far.
Okay, thank you so much. And okay, I would like to give a little disclaimer. I'm not as fluent as as foreigner in English. So if I have a little bit mispronunciation, I would like to apologize in advance. So I think we could start. I would do the opening first and then we can continue. Hello and salutation, people of tomorrow. Welcome to Medical Education Exclusive Talk Meet 2024 by AMSA Jember. So, before we start, let me tell you something about myself. Hi, my name is Tessa, and I'm currently a first-year medical student in Jember University and also a member of AMSA Jember. My department is AMSA, and here I am speaking as the moderator of Meet 2024 with AMSA Australia. Before we start our Meet agenda, I would like to briefly explain about this awesome event. As I have mentioned earlier, Meet stands for Medical Education Exclusive Talk, is held by AMSA Jember, which is a part of AMSA Indonesia. In this event, we will be exclusively talking about how to navigate our medical journey, how to balance life and learning as a medical student, which is very in line with our theme, which is navigating through medical journey, balancing life and learning. For today's episode, we have a very special guest from AMSA Australia, which is Daniel Tran. Am I pronouncing your name correctly?
Yes, that's all good.
Okay, thank you so much. Okay, again, hi Daniel. Thank you for accepting our invitation and joining us today. So, are you excited to, do the meet with us today?
For sure. Thank you for the invite for today. Looking forward to, yeah, having a good chat this afternoon.
Okay, I can see that we both are very excited for this, and honestly, I'm very honored to have this opportunity to talk with you today. And I believe all our viewers too here are very excited to have this exclusive discussion with us. So, without further ado, let's get started. So, before that, the operator, could you please help me to show us the CV of our guest? Okay, thank you so much. So, let me tell you a little bit about Daniel Tran. So, Daniel is currently in his third year of studying postgraduate medicine in the University of Melbourne in Australia. He previously completed a science and music degree at the University of Melbourne for his undergraduate studies. He is the current regional chairperson of AMSA Australia and has been involved extensively in past international AMSA conferences. Outside of medicine, he enjoyed music, traveling, and playing tennis. Okay, maybe you could scroll down a bit. We could see the rest of the CV. Okay, so everyone, as you can see here, Daniel also involved in a few researches. Can you scroll down a bit, please? So we can see, you have two recent research that you're included in 2024. Very cool. Okay. And then, is there any more for the CV? Operator, could you scroll down so we can see the rest of the CV too? Okay, you can see that Daniel is volunteering in a lot of events. Okay, so before we continue, would you like to add a bit more of this information to our audience who is watching, right?
Oh, no, that's pretty much it. You gave a pretty good summary. Yeah, I enjoy doing a bit of research, but also music and tennis outside of medicine as well. So yeah, happy to chat about any of that as well if we have time towards the end.
Okay, perfect. Thank you so much. Okay, so I assume you're ready for our next session. So we can
Mhm.
continue now. Okay, let's go. Thank you, operator. So first of all, I think we have five topics to discuss today. And the first one is about the path to becoming a medical student in Australia, especially in your university. So through experience, I need to take a test to get into medical school. So straight out of high school, I need to take a test. After that, after the test, then if I pass the test, I could go to medical school. So how about the process of being a medical school in Australia? Do you go like straight from, you know, high school, or you need to do more things first to become a medical student there?
Yeah, so in Australia, there's actually a couple different pathways that you can take. So the first one is called the undergrad pathway, which is pretty similar to what you described just there. So you finish high school, you sit an exam, you do an interview, and then you can start studying medicine straight after high school. So that's called the undergrad pathway. There's another pathway in Australia, which is called postgrad, so postgraduate. So what happens there is you study another undergrad course. It can be any undergrad degree, whether it be science, biomedicine, music, commerce. But as long as you finish that undergrad course first, and then you sit an exam, and then you go into postgrad med. So that pathway is a little bit longer, but that's like an alternate pathway to the undergrad pathway. So yeah, in summary, in Australia, you've got those two pathways there. For my uni, which is the University of Melbourne, they only do postgrad medicine. So yeah, I did do an undergrad in science and music previously before studying postgrad med. So yeah, it's a little bit confusing, but that's sort of the summary there for Australia.
Okay, I think it's very interesting to see because, if there is a postgraduate like section for entering a medical school, I think it would be fun for everyone who, beforehand they don't really want to go and take a medical subject in term of
Mm,
their university time, but after they already graduated, they can do it. Well, if you, compare it with my country, with Indonesia, we can't really do that because there is a certain age where you can actually apply to university. So the maximum is like 2 years after you graduated high school. That is the
Right.
maximum time. Okay, so I think it's very interesting, to see that there are completely different paths to, try to get into medical school in different countries. Okay, so, the preparation must be very long, and I see that you already took in a few undergraduate degree before that. Do you, have any struggle you experience in those processes, especially like you don't start it from the undergraduate, part of the study, and you only started after having an undergraduate degree, and how do you, overcome all of those struggle you have?
Yeah, so I'd say there's pros and cons to both pathways. I think the biggest struggle with the postgrad pathway is that it does take a bit longer. So you need to do a 3-year undergrad course and then postgrad medicine, which is 4 years. So you're looking at least 7 years before you graduate and before you can start being a doctor. So I'd say that's probably the biggest struggle, that it is a longer time frame. And so especially during my undergrad, like I'd often see a lot of my friends who would graduate first and then they would start working straight away. And even nowadays, most of my friends are already working in full-time jobs, like, 9 to 5, 5 days a week, and they're earning like a stable income and all that. So I'd say that's a bit of a struggle, kind of like comparing myself to a lot of my friends, and also from the financial aspect as well, because obviously I'm not working full time at the moment. But I think the main way that, like the biggest way that I tried to overcome that struggle was to keep reminding myself of my goals, that this isn't, a short-term thing. This isn't a sprint, but it's more so a marathon. So even though, most of my friends are already working, they're already, financially a bit better off, there's still a much longer way to go. And just reminding myself that medicine is my number one goal at the end of the day. And even though that, the pathway might be a little bit longer, I just have to accept it and keep working towards it. And then sooner or later, I'll be able to achieve my goal. So yeah, I feel like that's probably the most helpful thing. Just always reminding yourself of your goals and using that to keep pushing yourself throughout the long years.
Okay, so I think that is very inspiring, especially I think for myself, because just like you, I entered medical school in my last year and my last chance, and I'm also currently having another degree that I'm taking. So I think it's really, sometimes it's really sad to see like all of our peers already like graduating, they already have jobs and all of that. So I think what you just said is really, really inspiring and really motivating me. So is there any other, motivation you always keep in your heart and your mind to making sure that even though all of your, the people and your peers already having all of those achievement in their life, instead of just like, of course your goal is to be a doctor, but is there any other reason or motivation you have?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think the main motivation besides that is just to keep focusing on yourself, because I guess at the end of the day, like you're really only living for yourself. Like you're not living for anyone else, right? Like not for your parents, not for your friends. So everything you do, during uni and afterwards is just for your own life and for yourself. So whatever it takes to, live the best life, I guess, and doing things that are meaningful and that will help contribute to building up yourself. So for me, that's doing things such as research on the side, doing a bit of teaching, mentoring as well, helping out some of the younger students, doing a bit of volunteering, but also doing other things as well, like, playing tennis, playing music, just things that I feel will benefit myself as a person. And yeah, it all goes back to, medicine being the goal and me feeling that, that's going to be a big, what's the word, like benefit to myself. So yeah, not really sure if that answers the question. But yeah, that's the mindset that I've been trying to take, that like, everything that I'm trying to do is for myself. So I shouldn't really compare myself too much with other people.
And I think, in my opinion, it is very motivational, all the things that you said, that everything is for yourself and not for the others to see you as. And I think it's a very, nice motivation to give. Even for myself as a moderator, I feel very motivated just hearing you said that, it's going to encourage a lot of people. I'm sure of it. So how about we, move on to another topic? So I would like to know how you, navigate your way as a medical student, as a postgraduate medical student. Have you ever feel like overwhelmed and like experiencing like, shock and, oh, there's a lot of things to study here, or you know what, I feel overwhelmed and I can't do anything else instead of studying. Do you ever feel like that?
Yeah, that's a good question. I feel like in medicine, most people will experience that either sooner or later. And so for me personally, that moment came towards the start of last year. So how my course is structured at Melbourne Uni is that it's a 4-year postgrad program. The first year is fully lectures and classes and pracs, but then from year 2 onwards, you start doing placements full time. And so that was me last year. Last year was the start of my second year of med. So that's when I started doing full-time placements. And I personally found that to be a pretty big change. And I struggled quite a lot with changing from like lectures and classes to attending the hospital every day. And I've always been a night person, right? Like, especially during COVID, I would stay up until like 2 or 3 a.m. every day, which is not good. I definitely not recommend that. But that probably added a bit to the struggle as well, especially waking up at like 5 or 6 in the morning to get to placement on time. So yeah, I wasn't sleeping well. I wasn't eating well. I was feeling pretty overwhelmed as well by attending placement, but also trying to find the time to balance out my studies as well. So it lasted for maybe the first 2 months of the year, but it just kept on getting worse. So then there was a point where I realized that I had to take a step back and to sort of reprioritize the things in my life a little bit better. So I had to, cut out, some work, some teaching, some things on the side, and I had to like, reschedule some of my, daily activities a little bit, let go of some commitments because at the end of the day, you only have 24 hours in a day, right? Like you can't, just keep doing everything. So yeah, just taking a minute to reprioritize everything and taking some more time for myself as well. So that's when I started to like travel a bit more. Like you mentioned towards the start of this session today, I really like traveling. So that was kind of the first time I was able to travel properly ever since COVID. So the start of last year, I took like, a week or two off just to go to Sydney, see some friends, just relax a little bit. And that was a really good reset as well. So when I came back to Melbourne, I felt refreshed. I felt ready to, start placements and, learn new things again. So yeah, I think in summary, like it is inevitable that that happens to most people at one point or another during medicine. So I'd say my main recommendation would be to see what you want to prioritize and also try and do things that you enjoy as well so that you feel refreshed and reset.
Okay. So surprisingly, like, or a few of your answers really, relate to me in a way. Like, sometimes it's really get overwhelmed to study medicine, and
Mm.
it's really interesting to see that you already, attending hospital in your second year. It's quite different here in Indonesia. I will tell you later about that. And so, since we're talking about how to navigate, do you have like a subject that you really think that you're exhaling, or also like another subject that you think that you need to study really, really hard just to pass on that specific subject?
Yeah, I don't think there's anything in particular that I naturally excel in. I definitely struggle a lot with pathology and antibiotics, though. I'd say like, especially with antibiotics, I try and learn everything, but then like a few days later, I just forget everything. And I'm just like, oh, what do I need for like staph or strep? I just have a really hard time trying to memorize all of that stuff. So that's definitely something that I struggle with a lot. So just pathology in general. Actually, I'd say on the flip side, I'm probably the most comfortable with anatomy, just because I focused a bit more on anatomy during my undergrad studies. And so I've found it a little bit easier to like understand just like anatomy of like the human body. So yeah, I think at the end of the day, like you still just have to learn everything in medicine. There's no like shortcuts around it. So it's good to identify like what your strengths and what your weaknesses are early on and to try your best to address your weaknesses, whether that be using flashcards or, studying with friends, attending some extra tutorials, asking your professors. So yeah, that's my answer there.
Okay, so I think the next thing I would like to ask is relating to that. So what is your habit of studying, like the most type of studying you do to, keep up with all of those, and maybe
Mm.
like how to memorize a lot of things, since, medicine most likely have things to memorize all the time.
Yeah. So I mentioned flashcards before. I'm not sure how it is in Indonesia, but in Australia, flashcards are really popular amongst medical students. We use a program called Anki, where, you just upload flashcards and you do some every day. So most, if not all of my friends are really big fans of Anki. However, personally, I've always had a really hard time with Anki and flashcards. Like, it doesn't really work for me personally. So instead, what I prefer doing is just summary notes. So focusing on like the more important topics and just making like quick summary notes that I can always refer back to. And doing practice questions as well. So finding like past exams or trying to write questions for friends, and then they can write questions for me as well. I find that that's probably the best way that I learn. So doing practice, discussing things with friends. So yeah, everyone is different. Like most of my friends enjoy doing flashcards. I prefer just, discussing things and doing practice questions. So yeah, it's just up to you to figure out what works best for you and don't feel pressured to do something just because it's like more popular with other people.
Yeah, I do agree because just like you mentioned, flashcard is also really popular actually, and I think in my university it is very popular. A lot of my
Oh
friends
yeah.
uses. They also use Anki and sometimes like another application. I forgot the name, but yeah, it's always been flashcard. But me
Mm,
personally, I can't really do flashcard. I just can't go with the routine of like I have to do it every day. So
yeah.
I just like to read summaries, and also I like to do practical or like to see the past exams and like learning from that. So yeah, I think we do have something in common, I see. Okay, so next up, I think how about we discuss something more that actually this is very interesting to me about the educational system in your country. Since, as you mentioned that the post graduation, you do the second year in attending hospital, while in Indonesia, we need to complete a 4-year pre-medical education first in our university, and then we
Right.
got our what is it, bachelor degree. So
Mm,
after we got a bachelor degree, we would go to co-assistant where we have placement in the hospital for around 2 years. So it's very interesting to see that in, other country, you only need like a year to like, do lectures and all of this stuff, and then you just continue on doing the hospital. I think in my personal opinion, I think that could, make people or like the person who's going to be a doctor be having more experience in real life rather
mm,
than just like learning in lectures for literally 4 years. It's gonna be
yeah.
overwhelming.
Yeah. 4 years sounds like a really long time, to be honest. Like here in Australia, it does depend. Before postgrad, you do placements from second year onwards because like they assume that you've learned at least some things in undergrad already. But even for undergrad med, like I'm pretty sure you start placement from second or third year onwards. So yeah, 4 years seems like a really long time. It must get quite draining learning all of that stuff for 4 years.
Yeah, it is quite draining. I'm just starting and I feel already overwhelmed with over all of this things that I have to learn every day. So yeah, I would like to ask a bit like in your lecture in your first year, you mentioned about like going on lectures. What type of classes do you take there? Like, you know, do you just only take like anatomy, pathology, and all of those stuff, or maybe there are other non-medical subjects that you need to take as well?
Yeah, so it does depend on the university. So just speaking about Melbourne Uni, so in first year, they do lectures for pretty much every topic. So they group it in terms of systems. So you start off with like cardiovascular system, then you move on to respiratory, then gastro. And within each system, it covers everything. So like pathology, histology, anatomy, physiology, biochemistry, drugs, pharmacology, pretty much everything. So it's quite extensive. We also have some First Nations health classes as well. So that involves working with Aboriginal people in Australia. So like the indigenous population of Australia, because it is quite a big issue in Australia, Indigenous medicine. So we have a lot of classes dedicated towards Indigenous health. In terms of non-medical subjects, not really. We do have some selective subjects. So these are areas such as sexual health, ultrasound, um, death and dying, rural medicine. So these are all subjects that you can choose. So it's a big list, and you just choose one subject that you can do. So it gives you a little bit of flexibility to like, expand your knowledge in another area. But yeah, pretty much all our subjects are pretty related. And I think that's the case for most other unis as well, that it's quite med focused and you don't really do much outside of like medical subjects.
Okay, so I think it's quite interesting because in my university, in Jember University, you need to take a few like general courses like, languages and then
Ah, okay.
I think math and like all of those basics that you need to
Hmm.
do in order to graduate. So if you don't take those classes, you cannot graduate from the university. So I think it's interesting to see that in your university, like you just take one course that you want and that's it, and you won't, it's
Yeah.
not kind of necessary to do so. Oh, but I think there is that kind of additional courses that you could take. I think it's almost similar as yours, like there's sexual health or other stuff like that, but it would be taken on the last year, if I'm not mistaken, on the fourth
Right.
year of our university. So it's gonna be quite a long time. And I think
Hmm.
how the system work in your university is also the same as in mine. So we also take it like per block or system. We call it block here. So like the
Yeah.
cardiovascular block and then like others like that. We have around 18 block, if I'm not mistaken. So we took that for 3.5 year, and then the last semester we do our last task. So we
Hmm.
created some sort of essay, you can say, or in Indonesia it's called skripsi. So like a bigger essay to make sure that you actually understand what you have learned in those fourth
Yeah.
year, and then yeah, to something like that. So it's pretty cool to see that in there, it's very simple. You don't have to do 4 year of those,
Yeah.
and you can just, be fine with just that. Okay, so I think we could go to the next question. So, of course, in university we take exams. So can I know like what type of exam that your university require you to do in every year of your university time, like in your medical school?
Hmm. Yeah, so again, it does depend on the university. That's the interesting thing about like the Australian medical system is that it's quite university specific. It's not really standardized across the unis. But yeah, just for my uni, so Melbourne Uni, we have kind of like three different types of exams. The first one is called OSCEs. I'm not sure if you guys have it or not, but these are like clinical skills exams where you have like multiple stations. Each station is focused on a different topic. So let's say, for example, station one will ask you to take a history from someone presenting with a cough. And then the second station, you will need to perform a gastro exam on a sick patient. So it assesses purely your clinical skills. So these are called OSCEs. You do them every year throughout med school. The second type of exam we have is just an MCQ exam, so multiple choice. And it just assesses all the topics that they teach during the year. And the third one is pretty similar, but it's extended response. So instead of selecting A, B, C, D, you're expected to just write up your own answer. So it assesses whether or not you actually understand the content. So those are the types of exams at my uni. I do know that for other unis in Australia, they do have exams for ethics, for example, where you're required to like write up an ethics section, which sounds kind of tricky. But yeah, some unis have like ethics assessments. Other unis have like exams for Indigenous health as well. But yeah, as I mentioned, it's very dependent on the uni. So there's no like standardized system here.
Okay, so it's interesting to see. Like, yeah, since you mentioned if it's in Indonesia, we have like it's not standardized, but most university have the same type of exam and everything. And for
Mm.
OSCE, actually, we have OSCE. We need to took 6 OSCE in our whole year. Like, in no, like I mean,
Yeah.
in the whole 4 year, we need to take six
Mm.
OSCE. So like every semester, we need to take one from the first semester until the sixth semester. And I think it's cool to see that you have the essay type of exam when you just write everything down because in here we don't have that, and I'm pretty sure I won't be able to pass if I do that because sometimes it's easier to see if there's ABC there, so I can just like pick which one that
Yeah,
I thought is the
exactly.
most important. So I think it's cool to see that. So, I've heard that some university have like an oral test. So Melbourne University don't have an oral test, maybe like how you know or
No, not really an oral exam. Perhaps at other unis though.
Mhm. Yeah, I think it's gonna be very thankful to don't have that. Like just
Yeah.
imagine yourself sitting in a room with like a few doctors and they would ask you face to face, just you standing there by yourself. It's gonna be very
Mm.
scary in my opinion. Okay, so I think we have discussed, a lot of things about the university and how, to be a medical student. I think it's really interesting to see like the differences and the similarity we have for both our university and also both of our country. So speaking of country, I think this is a more general question. This is not actually related to, medical things. So like personally, I would like to ask you first, are you local in Australia or maybe do you go to Australia just to study?
Yeah, so I am a local from Australia. I was born in Melbourne and I grew up in Melbourne. Both of my parents are Vietnamese, so they came across from Vietnam. But yeah, I am a local here.
Okay, that's cool though. So I would like to ask, is there any like, interesting culture there that you know, uh I'm sorry. So is there like any interesting culture that, you like there or maybe it's very particular maybe in your family or maybe in your community there?
Yeah, so I think Australian culture is quite interesting. There's a lot of cool Australian animals, so like kangaroos, koalas, emus. So they're a pretty big part of Australian culture. What else is there? Australia's actually really multicultural as well. So a lot of it is kind of just like a big sort of like mesh of every different culture. So there's a really big Asian culture, or like Asian population in Australia, but also like Europeans, Americans, like African culture as well. So Australia's very multicultural. Um, so I think a lot of like the different cultural things are just like a blend of all the different cultures. Besides that, we also have some interesting foods as well. You might have heard of Vegemite. So that's a pretty big like Australian icon. Tim Tams as well. Like they're super popular here. What else? I think the most interesting thing is like slang in Australia. So like we tend to shorten words quite a lot. So most people here just say Aussie instead of Australia. What else? We say Arvo instead of afternoon. Instead of saying service station, we say servo. Football becomes footy. So that's probably the biggest part of like Aussie culture, that like there's a lot of slang, and like we end up like just shortening everything because I guess like Aussies are lazy. So yeah, those are just like a few aspects of like Australian culture.
Yeah, that is like very interesting to know. Like, I think it's very fun to see like I think in Indonesia too we have multiple culture. I can't really explain a lot of things because there's also a lot of culture in my country as well.
Mm.
So I think I would like to ask this. I don't know if it's going to offend or not actually. Like since there are multi-race, there's multi-ethnicity there, do they like allow to, do their own specific tradition there, or maybe like there is a restriction from the government that able to, freely express themselves as a person with their own ethnicity?
Oh no,
Is it?
there's no restrictions at all, as long as you're not like, hurting anyone, because obviously that's not a good thing. But yeah, like every year, like Lunar New Year, like it's celebrated across like Australia, um, Ramadan as well. There's also like Greek Easter. So yeah, there's no restrictions at all. So just throughout the year, you just hear of these different holidays and different celebrations from like, various cultures. So yeah, absolutely no restrictions. Like it is like quite a celebrated thing that like there's so many cultures in Australia. So yeah, as long as you're not like hurting anyone or putting anyone in danger.
Okay, that's really awesome to hear because like, like there is like some country that would restrict people, like maybe Muslim people to celebrate their
Mm,
holiday and stuff. So I'm very happy that in Australia, like you can do whatever you want, you know, in a sense like if you don't hurt anyone or like you're putting someone in danger, that is not gonna be okay, even if
yeah.
it's just a normal thing to do. Okay, so I think let's go back to I heard like this food you were talking about before. So could you maybe like add more like recommendation like a few spots that maybe it is known to local but most like people like tourists don't know it, that is very
Mm.
interesting to see, and like food or maybe like a little souvenir that we can bring when we go there to go home to our country.
Yeah. Sure thing. So in terms of souvenirs, definitely Tim Tams. They're like the number one souvenir. So in case like people here don't know what Tim Tams are, they're sort of like chocolate biscuits, but they're really addictive. Like, you can't just eat one, you just need to keep eating a lot, but they're very unhealthy as well. So yeah, Tim Tams are super addictive. So yeah, definitely bring a lot home, if you do ever come to Australia. The other big food is Vegemite, which is kind of hit or miss. Like some people love it, some people hate it. So I guess just decide for yourself what it is. So Vegemite is a spread that you normally put on like bread and you eat it. But it's like kind of salty, kind of bitter. It's a really interesting flavor. So yeah, bring it home if you do like it. Besides that, um, souvenirs, what else can you bring? It's not too much else in terms of souvenirs. In terms of like destinations, though, if you do ever want to visit Australia, definitely go through all the big cities. So Melbourne, Sydney, they're like the two big ones. I definitely recommend Brisbane as well. Not a lot of people visit Brisbane, but I think it's very underrated, in my opinion. It's really nice and it's a bit quieter as well. Specifically in Melbourne, a lot of people usually like hang around the city, just because like, that's the easiest area to explore. But I think if you do go to Melbourne, the best places are actually a little bit outside of Melbourne. But you will need like a car or like you need to catch the train out for like an hour or two. But you've got places like the Great Ocean Road, you've got Ballarat, Phillip Island. So there's a lot of really nice spots like just outside of Melbourne. So yeah, if you ever come to Melbourne and if you have access to a car or if you've got like family or friends in Melbourne, definitely ask them to, show you around to some of the more like country locations instead of just in the city. Same thing in Sydney as well. The city in Sydney is really nice, but you've also got really good beaches and mountains like just outside of Sydney as well. So yeah, Australia's a really big country. So I think my main recommendation is to not, focus too much on the cities, but consider exploring like the countryside as well if you have the means to.
Okay, so I think I would like to note everything you just said, because personally, I would love to take a master degree there someday after I
Mm.
finish like all this undergraduate things I do and finish my bachelor. I would love to go there to do my master degree. So I think it's very interesting to, know the places now so I don't get confused when I go there. So,
Yeah.
okay. I think thank you so much, for like sharing all of these spots that I think if we never do this, I wouldn't know that Australia had, great countryside places to visit and or stuff like. I think I was just going to stick to like all of those very popular places that all the tourists were like taking a photo at and like those. Okay, so I think, you know, I can't believe we already like finished four topics and now we are on to the last topic. I think
Mm.
our conversation is very nice. I hope you are having fun too, talking with me right now.
Yeah, no, it's
I
been
did
great.
have fun. Okay, so I think the last one is something that connects us and making us be able to meet today, which is something about AMSA. So why do you choose this as your organization there in Melbourne University?
Mm. So it's probably a pretty silly reason. Like the reason why I joined AMSA was just because I saw a post on Facebook. It was when they were recruiting their new committee. And so I literally just saw the post. I hadn't heard of AMSA before. I had no idea what AMSA was. But yeah, I thought it was cool that it was like, a society or like a committee for like, Asian medical students. So I applied to join. Initially, I was the director of finance for AMSA Australia. So this was like, throughout my first year and second year of med school. I was the director of finance. And towards the end of my tenure, I had the opportunity to attend AMSC, so the AMSA conference in Taiwan last year. And that was a really good experience as well. Like I met a lot of great people, a lot of really cool people from Indonesia as well. Um, and yeah, it was a really good experience overall. And I think that was what sort of inspired me to continue on as the regional chairperson of Australia, which is my position like for this current tenure. So yeah, I think overall AMS is a really warm and welcoming um organization. And it's really cool that there's like, different AMSA chapters across like all Asian countries and that we have these events such as, this conversation right now or like, competitions or conferences or just like collaborations that like AMSA chapters can do with each other. Yeah, it's always a really good way to learn more about like another country's culture and to meet new people. So yeah, that's kind of my story in AMSA so far.
Yeah, I think it's very, thankful that you all actually like still saw or like see those Facebook posts because if you never see it, then
Mm.
you would actually never enter AMSA
Yeah.
in the first place. So okay, relating to your experience and like how you joined AMSA, like is there any like one, not any, like just one unforgettable moment with AMSA that that's really stuck with you until now?
I'd say, well, that's a good question. I've got a lot of good memories from the conferences that I've been to. So like I mentioned before, I went to AMSC in Taiwan last year, and also EAMSC in Singapore earlier this year. I think my probably the memory that has stuck with me the most was during the Taiwan conference last year, where let's see, so it was just like an evening. And usually like during these conferences, like you have so many like activities and lectures and stuff during the day, but you usually get free time during the evenings. So yeah, there was just one evening where like we gathered like in our room. So like me, a couple of other Aussies, but also like other people from, I think there was like from AMSA England, AMSA Thailand, just like a few different, chapters just within one room. And yeah, we were just like talking, playing card games, having snacks, and we just completely lost track of time. And like before we knew it, it was like the next morning already, and like none of us got any sleep. So yeah, that was a really good memory that, yeah, like we were able to like connect so easily with, other med students from other chapters. So yeah, I think, it goes back to, AMS as being such a good platform to connect and meet new people and to like make new friendships. So yeah, that's probably like the one memory that stands out to me the most, like during my time in AMSA.
Okay, that is very, very cool though. So I think I would like to, share too what is my unforgettable moment as an AMSA too, as an AMSA member. Like, I think it was during like the event of the middle year, like in the middle of the tenure, there was like the event of the year for like half tenure, and I actually got the best member in my department, which is AMSA. It was very like unexpected because I don't really expect myself to win, but I do, so
Oh yeah,
it's kind of like shocking.
that's
Okay,
good. Well
so
done.
yeah, thank you so much. And maybe someday I could be one of the member in AMSA Indonesia, and maybe we can meet again someday. Like personally,
Yeah,
maybe I could come to Australia or things like.
for sure.
Cool. So I think I would like to know more like what is the thing that you think that AMSA helped you the most throughout your journey as a medical student? Like other than, like gaining all the relations, like maybe is there any event that really helped you to, exhale in your own field as a medical student by joining AMSA?
Yeah, so I think the main thing is something that we've spoke about already, just the ability to make like new friendships and new connections. So like building up my own confidence and like communication skills. But besides that, I think just especially like in my role as the regional chairperson, like there's a lot of organization and just like trying to oversee things. So that's probably something that has, helped me personally as well, just develop, some leadership skills, organization skills. So yeah, I've kind of learned a bit about sort of like the type of leader that I want to be. So I'm not like, I don't want to be like an overbearing leader where I'm like, micromanaging and, telling people exactly what they need to do. But I don't want to be like super relaxed either to the point that I'm like an absent figure. So yeah, I've learned that, I enjoy leading sort of in that middle ground there and doing things by example as well. So yeah, like taking initiative to do things, checking up on people, ensuring that, I've got a good relationship with like all of my team members. So yeah, I think that's the main thing I've learned that like, yeah, leadership takes a lot of effort. But yeah, it's through these experiences that you learn the type of person that you are and like the type of leadership that you best excel in.
Yeah, it's very cool to know, like, and I could really see that you're being a type that could lead an event like very good. Like just the vibe that you're giving is like a very leader-like, in my opinion, though. So,
Thank you.
okay, you're welcome. Okay, so I think, sadly, I already ran out of question. Like this discussion is really quick. I don't know what to do. So anyway, Daniel, do you have like anything you want to know about AMSA Jember that maybe I could tell you about? You
Yeah,
can ask about anything.
hmm. Yeah, I do have a question. It might just be that I haven't done my proper research, but how does AMSA Jember like fit in within AMSA Indonesia exactly?
Oh, okay. So this is just based on my knowledge. I think the one that would, like explain it better is going to be like Reina, the representative of AMSA Jember. But like in AMSA Indonesia, there is a lot of branches, and those branches is like for every university. So every university, like like a few university in Indonesia have AMSA, like their own AMSA
Yeah.
and their own university. So that is why we can relate to AMSA Indonesia, because like every like city, you can say like every city have their own AMSA. So in here there is AMSA Jember, and then we go to AMSA Indonesia as our main, connection to connect us
Okay.
with other AMSA from another city and other university in Indonesia. So like it's going to be like a more exclusive for our own university, but then we can all go to AMSA Indonesia as a whole, like so then we can all connect it to AMSA Indonesia.
Right. So you have like a separate committee for AMSA Jember, which is different to like the AMSA Indonesia committee.
Yeah, it's different, but it is connected in a way. So
Yeah.
there is like a few region. If I'm not mistaken, Jember is in the fifth or fourth region. I don't really remember, but so there are like a few region from all across Indonesia, and all of them is related and connected by AMSA Indonesia. So AMSA Indonesia is like the big one, and then like they
Yeah.
have many kids
Yeah.
scattered all over the country. So
Yeah.
yeah, that's
Now that
something
makes
like that.
sense. Yeah. The reason I ask is because like we don't have anything like that for AMSA Australia. I think the reason is that AMSA Australia is still like relatively new. I'm not sure how long like AMSA Jember and AMSA Indonesia have been around for, but AMSA Australia has only been around for, within 10 or so years, maybe a bit more than that. And also like considering the population of Australia as well, like Australia only has like 20 something million people. So it's a huge country, but not a lot of people living in it actually. Whereas Indonesia, like I'm not sure what the population is, like probably hundreds of millions, right? Probably a lot more.
Yeah,
Yes.
so Indonesia is a very, crowded country. We have
Yeah.
a lot of people living here. And yeah, so I think for AMSA Jember itself, if I'm not mistaken, it was starting around like 2015. So like around 9 years or so, I think, for AMSA Jember. But like
Right. Okay.
we like publicly known for just a few years. Like I think we really just like step up our game in the
Yeah.
last few years. And fun fact, these meet or medical education exclusive talk is our own program in AMSA in AMSA Jember. So when I do like a little chat with a few friends from other AMSA in Indonesia, like for example, like AMSA that is located in Surabaya or Malang, they don't have this specific program. So this is like
Right.
this is the first time like we created this kind of thing. But for
Okay.
what is it? For the program itself, I think it's already like beginning in a few years ago. So before I enter AMSA, so I don't really know, and I can't really explain to you like how long this specific program has been, established in this AMSA.
Yeah, that makes sense. So it sounds like AMSA Australia's probably been around for like a similar time as AMSA Jember, so like around 10 or so years. So yeah, like AMSA Australia is still like pretty new. And yeah, like I mentioned before, like there's like 25 million people living in Australia. So we actually only have like AMSA Australia, like there's no like, smaller branches or anything. So there's no like AMSA Melbourne or AMSA Sydney or anything. Like everyone's just part of AMSA Australia. So yeah, it's interesting to see that like you've got, all of these like sort of branches within AMSA Indonesia.
Okay, so then maybe is there anything else you want to ask, or maybe like little note, maybe you can actually make that branch too in Australia, maybe creating AMSA Melbourne and AMSA Sydney in the future. It's gonna be cool though. Like it could be like specific, and they could have different programs that would actually like, boost their own specific places in their region or
Yeah.
area.
Yeah, we'll probably need a few more members in each city first to make that a bit easier. But yeah, no, that's definitely a long-term goal to like, set up, branches of AMSA within each of our cities.
Okay, so do you have anything else you want to ask? That's why just just be free, just ask anything.
Anything else I want to ask? I guess, yeah, since I sort of spoke about Australia a little bit before, like I'd be keen to learn a bit more about Indonesia as well. Like, do you have any tips or recommendations if I were to visit Indonesia like in the future?
Okay, so I think this is gonna be like specific to my city. So I'm actually a
Yeah.
local in Jember, so
Oh,
I
yeah.
think that, you know, one thing that you should, see if you come here is the festival. So we have JFC or Jember Fashion Carnival. So it's like a
Mm,
very big and well-known carnival in Indonesia where you would see like uh elaborate clothing or like elaborate fashion like made from recycled things, like for example like old bottles, old paper news and stuff, and they would create a
right.
new design with that, and it's very cool. And if it's like food, if you like sweet stuff, there is this thing called Indonesia is called suar suwir. So it's like a dough, and it's like a sweet dough, like look like a rectangle,
Mm,
and it was uh personally, like I don't know how it's cooked, but like they use a big like pan, and then they mix the
okay.
dough in there. So like by hand, so it's like handmade, and then after it's hot enough, they would like to make them to the shape what they want, and then they would cool it down, and the taste is very sweet and like
Mm,
tender, like like those chewy chocolates like you eat. So the taste is like that, but it's more sugary and have a bit of herbs in it because like it's
yeah.
Indonesia, we love using herbs there. And I think for places, I'm personally not someone who travel a lot, so I never actually went to a lot of other city in Indonesia, but I think if you want to, have a recommendation, I would give it to you and then note maybe like a few notes that I could make after this because there is a lot of interesting places. But for food, I think if you like savory food, there is a lot of interesting Indonesian food that is packed with flavors. So
Mm,
few of them, I don't know if you ever heard it. So it's like rendang. So it's like meat that is cooked for quite some times in
right.
um yeah, it's like in this, what is it? It's like in brine or like something with a lot of herbs, and they
Yeah.
would be served with a lot of other condiments. And yeah, I think I don't really know
Yeah.
though. Personally, I am so sorry because I don't I never really like explain any of the culture of Indonesia because there's too many things to remember. So I remember what I eat that day, and then I
Yeah.
forgot what I eat the next day. Like, yeah.
Yeah. No,
So,
that's okay. Yeah.
okay, so I think for like any other recommendation, you could actually ask our representative. I think she do more travel than me, like the one that contacted you, Reina. I think she would have a lot of recommendation. That is in my opinion, though. Okay, so I
Yeah.
think
Sounds good.
yeah, I think everything is finished. We have finished our last discussion today. So okay, Daniel, do you have any closing statement you want to say to us, to the viewers that is going to see this in YouTube, and maybe to everyone who want to join AMSA but they are still doubting about it?
Yeah, for sure. So yeah, I just wanted to say a big thank you again for inviting me on to have this conversation today, and for, everyone's warm welcomes this afternoon. Yeah, it's been really fun, getting to know a bit more about AMSA Jember and Indonesian culture as well. And I always love talking about like Australian culture and our system here. I think, yeah, for everyone else, like, just keep trying your best in med school. You've already made it into med school, so like I'm sure all of you are super duper capable. So just keep, reminding yourself of your goals, but also take some time off for yourself if you feel like you need to. And yeah, if you're still on the fence about AMSA, my recommendation is to just join and give it a go. Like I haven't regretted it at all. Like not for, even a second. It's, been an awesome experience. Like med school has been so much more fulfilling, having been, you know, involved with AMSA over the past 1 or 2 years. So yeah, definitely give it a shot. That's that's my suggestion.
Okay, thank you so much for the closing statement and your perspective of like being a medical student in Australia and also like the University of Melbourne. And I have so much fun today discussing all of this topic with you, and I hope you do have fun too, like talking to me because we are here to have fun and just to chat about just anything.
Yeah, no, it's been great. So yeah, thanks again for organizing this and for having me on today.
Okay, so Daniel, I hope that maybe, one day, maybe when you already become a doctor and I go to do my master degree there, maybe we can meet physically. And I'm so thankful and, maybe see you soon in there. So I would like to close our meeting today. So everyone, all of our viewers, this is one of the episode of Medical Education Exclusive Talk or Me 2024 by AMSA JEMBER. We are collaborating with AMSA Australia with our guest here, Daniel. So everyone, thank you so much for watching, and for our lovely, lovely viewers, don't forget to always catch up on our awesome content in our YouTube channel by subscribing, and also you can visit our Instagram and AMSA JEMBER. So again, I am Chessa, and this is Daniel, our guest today. Thank you for watching, and see you in other episodes of Medical Education Exclusive Talk Me. Empowering Heart, Unleashing Infinite Potential, FIFA AMSA. Okay, thank you so much though, Daniel, for all of this talk we have. Oh yeah, I think before we finish, I would like to show you a little something we made as a, thank you gift or like a gratitude. For operator, could you show us the certificate that Daniel will receive? And this certificate will be, given. So this is a little token of thank you, like appreciation for you because you have been a speaker in our talk show. Thank you so much, though. It's really been a fun time talking with you.
Awesome. Thanks for the certificate. I wasn't really expecting that. And yeah, thank you to everyone here for organizing this and for having me on. It's been a fun talk.
Yeah. Okay, so maybe before we, finish this, I would like to invite our Vice Representative of External Affairs. So, Miss Berlin, maybe you have something to say to our guests today?
Okay, thank you, Chessa, for the time. Maybe, hey, Daniel. I haven't been introducing myself at the first time you've here because I was still outside doing other things. But hey, let me introduce myself. My name is Berlin Abilkis. You can call me Berlin, and I'm here as the Vice Representative External. We do have two vices. I don't know about how Australia doing it there, but we do have two vices. There is me for the external thing, and then we have another person for the internal thing. And maybe I want to say thank you very much for joining our talk show today. Well, this program is actually developed since 3 years ago, if I'm not mistaken, in AMSA JEMBER. And yes, Chessa was right. This program is currently only in AMSA JEMBER, so it's very exclusive because other AMSAs don't have it. And like for the AMSA, what I would say, it's not like we have AMSA in each cities, but we do have AMSA in like most of the universities like in Indonesia. So like for example in Surabaya, I'm coming from Surabaya, I'm not from Jember. We have like lots of universities that has this medical school program, right? So like we probably have like 5 to 6 AMSA in Surabaya. Like in Jember, usually AMSA in Indonesia goes by the name of the university. So let's say AMSA UNER is it actually stand up for AMSA University of Erlangga, but we are not using our university name because we are like
Right.
we're like the external organization, if that makes sense. Yeah, it's something
Yeah.
like that. And yeah, last year I was also the moderator for the one of the meet, right? And it was with AMSA Japan, and yeah, he told me about this AMSA thing in Japan was also like it's not like how we do it in Indonesia. They only have one AMSA there, so
Mm.
yeah, maybe I think it's a good thing if you're like making more like branches in Australia. That would be great.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Do you have any question maybe for me or anything you want to say?
Oh, no. Yeah, thanks for clarifying all of that and giving me a bit more context into AMSA in Indonesia. Yeah, like I mentioned before, it's always interesting to hear a bit more about that. And yeah, that could be something that like AMSA Australia tries to achieve long term as well, is to have like a few branches underneath to, expand a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's gonna be very great if, like other countries would have more like branches under their like
Mm.
big like, their country counterpart of AMSA. So I think if, we have more branches, that means like the organization could be expanding a bit more. So like a lot of more people could join AMSA because like it was just like one big organization. It's gonna be like overwhelming to just see how much
Yeah,
member you have inside that.
for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think okay, maybe Kak Berlin. Miss Berlin, maybe you would like to end this meeting.
Yeah, I think that's it for me. Well, maybe if I'm going to like Australia in a close time, maybe like the end of this year, I'm probably gonna contact you if that's okay with you.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, any of you guys, like, please feel free to reach out on like WhatsApp, Instagram, anything. I'll be more than happy to have a chat or even show you guys around if you end up making it to Melbourne.
Oh
Yeah,
yeah, sure. Maybe we can yeah, maybe I'll try to follow your Instagram later.
yeah,
Sure.
me too.
Yeah. Yeah, no
If we
stress.
have your Instagram handle, so we could, follow your Instagram maybe.
Sure thing.
What is
I'll
your
put it in the chat if that's okay. It's
okay, sure, sure,
like,
go ahead.
yeah, DanTran7. So DANTRAN7. And I've just popped it in the Zoom chat.
Okay, so I think since I have my phone here, I would going to follow yours now.
Oh yeah, okay.
Sure thing.
Okay, I just followed you. Mine is the Berliana one. Berliana Bilk. Do you see?
Yeah.
Yes. Yep, I've
Yeah.
got it.
Okay, and I follow you too. Mine is like C and X and then all the underscore. My username is weird, but it's CX and then underscore underscore
Yeah.
underscore. It's mine.
Yes. Awesome.
Okay. Thank you so much though.
Thank you
Like
so much, Essa and Daniel. Maybe that's it from me. I'll give it back to you, moderator. Thank you.
okay, thank you so much. So that was like Little South with our vice representative. And for Daniel, thank you so much for all of your time today. I hope you have a wonderful day, like wonderful remaining of this today. So thank you so much for joining us today. And I hope you have fun and you found this, meeting very, I don't know, enjoyed.
Yeah.
I hope you enjoyed
That's
today.
it's been great. Yeah. Hope you guys have a good rest of your Sundays as well.
Yeah. So I think last thing we need to do before, we do this is to like we need to do a little bit of screenshotting today. So I think for everyone else, if you want to turn on your camera right now. So oh yeah, Daniel, all of this member, the other member in this Zoom is the commit member of Meet program. So they are the one that is helping me because I am also the project officer for this program. So all of them are the one that is helping me to create this specific Meet today. So yeah, please welcome all of my members. Okay, so I think I would like to take a screenshot on the count of three. Okay. 1, 2, 3. Okay. Okay, that is already taken the picture. So, oh yeah, actually, do you do the same hand movement when you say AMSA in Australia or no? Like this is
Not in,
our
yeah,
logo of
not in Australia, but I've learned how to do it like during conferences and all that. So yeah, we can do it.
Okay, so I think yeah, you guys can go ahead. I'm going to take the screenshot. Okay, so one, F1, could you do the hand for Amsatu? Okay, thank you. Okay, so 1, 2, 3. Okay, and the picture have been taken. Thank you so much for joining us today. And yeah, I'll see you again soon.
Awesome. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you. Thank you for joining us. Okay. Oh yeah, Daniel, if you have any other agendas, you can leave. I'm so happy to meet you today.
Yeah, it was great meeting you guys as well. Hope to see you guys around soon.
Yeah, me too.